on former maths teacher Kevin Lister. He's lost an unfair dismissal tribunal after he refused to use a trans student's preferred pronouns whilst teaching at New College, Swindon. Well, joining me now is Barry Wall. He's the founder of the Winning Mindset. Barry, welcome to the show. So a real landmark case. Kevin Lister was adamant that his job as a maths teacher was to teach fact. He also had religious beliefs, which meant he didn't believe in this ideology. He wouldn't go along with the pronouns system, and he's lost his job as a consequence. What's your take on this?
Well, my take is that I need to read the judgment quite carefully, and I'm sure that the legal eagles across Twitter and various areas will already be doing that. What we're seeing, I think, is the beginning of something from the perspective of school teachers that means there may be more of these cases, and I think that there are likely to be many more whilst we continue to allow gender ideology to be taught in schools. I think that's the primary problem. So Kevin found himself on the sharp end of dealing with a child in distress, and that child's distress led them to identify as something they are not, and trying to do the best that Kevin could for that child. He then found that the college itself was enthralled to the same ideology that the child was. It puts him in an impossible position. So from that perspective, the case was a very difficult one to begin with. And as you say, a landmark case, but there's been landmark cases before, and there will be those that will follow as we see more of this insidious belief system infiltrate our institutions across the board.
Now, Barry, people will say that pronouns are protected under the Equality Act, but of course we are moving into the realms of compelled speech. We saw Jordan Peterson in Canada refuse to use pronouns in an academic setting. He survived, as it were. This sends out a very different message. It sends out the message that if you don't go along with this, then you will be cancelled, you will be fired. And it seems that the free speech of Kevin Lister has been trumped by the free speech of a trans student.
I think the word there is seems, and I think it's certainly on the face of it, that's exactly how it appears, Martin. I think that the thing we must be aware of is that people have been talking about this for a very long time. This is not new. If we'd listened to the women warning us back in the 70s and the 80s that this was going on, that this particular movement was building, we would well find ourselves not in this situation. Kevin wouldn't be in this situation, and you and I would not be having this conversation. But we didn't. So women and men, but mostly women, are being hounded every day for not playing ball with this men's rights movement that is trans ideology. And when young people get caught up in it, because trans itself is a collective noun, it's like vegetable. Who do you mean? The turnips, the Brussels sprouts, or the sweets? It's a collective term. It doesn't mean one thing. In this case, in Kevin's case, we had a young lady who was obviously in distress, a child in distress. And in other cases, it's just somebody else who wants to practice cross-dressing in public. So it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly where the problem lies. But pronoun usage, forced speech, which is what we're seeing, is something that everybody with any sense whatsoever will fight with every fibre of their being. That's what the programme I run is all about. That's what it's about doing. Ensuring that reality, the Enlightenment, the values of John Locke and John Stuart Mills, all of the stuff that we know has made us the most successful civilization the world has ever seen, and which gender identity ideology, queer theory, and all its vapid offshoots do their very best to undermine.